103.2 Dublin City FM. Dublin radio at its best.
It was a clean sweep for the Irish. I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
Mixed martial arts. No one else talks about it except us. On the ball.
Dublin City FM.
Yes, welcome back to On The Ball, and it's time for MMA, and there is only one place to begin.
Dublin City FM.
A few gremlins in the system there, but that can't get us downbeat after last night's action. I'm joined in studio by Neill Marshall. Neill?
Thanks very much, mate. Obviously this system is also as excited as we are. Just can't get enough out there.
I'm like a little schoolboy again going up for his penny sweets. Just I really want to talk about this.
Yeah, no, this is the sports story of the week for Ireland. No doubt about it. Joined on the line by Ken as well. Is that right, Ken?
Yes, indeed, Mr. Marshall.
Okay. He sounds just as excited as us.
All right, Ken, before we get going, let's listen to the whole post-fight promo from Conor McGregor. This is obviously courtesy of Zuffa, and this was Dan Hardy with Conor McGregor after his first round knockout win.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Leon Rollins has scored a stop to this contest at 4 minutes and 5 seconds of the very first round, declaring the winner by TKO, the notorious Conor McGregor.
Congratulations to Conor McGregor. He's with Dan.
What a performance from your hometown boy. Hear it one more time. Conor McGregor. That's got to feel good. That's got to feel good. Did you expect him to be done that quickly? I mean, you seem very, very calm but calculated. You seem to know exactly what you wanted to do. Was that the game plan, or was there any surprises? No, I don't know. I just felt calm throughout. I had a feeling like if I got the chance to grapple with him, I would try and pass his guard. I would try to advance position. But no, I said I was going to put him away in the first round. I put him away in the first round. It would have to be something special to come over here in my hometown and take this away from me. There's not a man alive that can come on this soil and beat me. I don't think anybody in the building doubts that at all. So let's have a quick look at the finish. I think we're going to look on the big screen. It looked like you caught him with a body shot early on, and it seems to take the wind out of him. Then you followed it with that beautiful straight left that sent him to the canvas. For me, that was game, set, and match. You were done there. Yeah, I felt I threw a turn aside kick to the body. He actually threw a right hand, right kick. That was good. It made me check myself a little bit, not come in too cocky, but I knew I was the bigger man. I'm the bigger featherweight here than all these people. But at the end of the day, look, what's next for me is I'm going to go backstage, sit down with Mr. Lorenzo Verdite, toast some fine-ass whiskey, and talk about football stadiums next. Football stadiums and world titles, that's what I want. Now, it's fair to say that with all the trash talk, with all the build-up, there was a lot of pressure on you tonight, and obviously this crowd was expecting you to deliver. Yeah. Did you feel that coming into this fight? Did you feel the adrenaline? Did you feel that take an effect on your energy at all? Honestly, my teammates went 3-0 tonight. Paddy the Hooligan Houlihan. A rear naked choke. Absolutely beautiful. Carl Pendred. An out Irish warrior. I mean, you can't beat that guy. You cannot beat him. And then Neil Seary, Gunny Nelson. Phenomenal performances. I fed off of that. It was a clean sweep for the Irish. I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over. Well, I can see you're heading towards a belt. There's no doubt about that. I'm interested to see what happens next. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it. The notorious Conor McGregor.
And there you have it.
I tell you what, if that does not give you goosebumps.
It was just like, Ken, did the post-fight promo live up to the night itself, the atmosphere, the incredible clean sweep for the Irish? Was that a perfect full stop on the end of the night, that promo?
Yeah, I don't think he could have said anything wrong though. Once he won the fight, that was it.
Yeah. All right, listen.
Had he not won, I don't know what would have happened.
I know, and I've been thinking about that a lot. But you know what? There's no point even talking about that scenario. We're going to take a different angle of things today. Instead of going from top to bottom, we're going to go from the start of the show up, because we have until the half an hour break here. So first of all, explain to us what the atmosphere was like walking in, and before the first fight on the preliminary card, how full was the building, and just give us a general overview before we saw any cage action.
The building was about 90% full.
What?
You see spotted seats here and there that were...
we're talking before the first prelim.
Before the first fight went in the cage. I mean, when
that's unprecedented, Ken.
I arrived at like 5:28, went to my seat. The fight was supposed to start at 5:30. They started about 5 minutes late. But when I was in my seat, I'd say the arena itself was 90% full, but there was also probably 500 people milling about the concession stands and all that stuff. And I think it got kind of caught by the fact that there was a fight in the cage, and so by the end of that fight, it was pretty much full.
Yeah, no, that is unprecedented. Okay, let's get into the action here. Start off with flyweight action. Patrick Houlihan, who me and you kind of been covering for 3 years now, he had his UFC debut, as many Irish fighters on the show did, against Josh Sampo, and if you want to talk about setting the tone for the night, I don't think you could have done it better. It was an incredible performance by Patrick. Rear naked choke at 3 minutes and 6 seconds in the first round. Talk about his reaction during his entrance and give an overview of the fight itself.
I mean, the thing about the opener is the crowd is full on energy. You know what I mean? So it was deafening. The reaction to him when he came out was huge. The fight itself, he was dominating, and he had Sampo on the ground, and he was trying to get a finish. He was punching him, and he got caught, and Sampo clamped on what looked like a pretty tight armbar and went belly down, which, if you know anything about jiu-jitsu, when someone goes belly down on an armbar, you could be in big trouble. So I was terrified he was going to tap, but tremendous reversal to get out of this, and then sunk in the rear naked choke, and got the win. I mean, the place came unglued, and I said to my wife, I don't know if this is night has peaked already, because it was just at that point already it was like no reaction I'd ever heard at any sports event, any live event. I've been to Anfield, I've been to Wembley, I've been to WrestleManias, I've been to concerts, nothing compared to the reaction. And this is the first fight of the night, and what a promo, what an interview he gave afterward. I don't know about you, Ireland, but I'd love a cup of tea. I'm
dying for a cup of tea. It was it was so suited. It was so perfect. Okay, we had and
by the way, just on Paddy Houlihan, the fighters' families were sitting right by where myself and my wife were, and
yeah, that's right.
So for friends and family. So he came up after his fight, not long after, and there was a good 2 or 3 fights before the Pendred fight where people weren't really watching the cage. They were just kind of queuing up to take photos with Houlihan in the stands, and he was just kind of trying to talk to his friends. So, but he was being accommodating to everyone. Just seemed like a super, super nice dude.
He really is. He's ridiculously humble. Like, you talk to him, he's just an absolute bloke. Like, he's like really, really nice. We had Nikita Krylov against Cody Donovan in the first of basically 3 fights on the entire show that didn't have any kind of hometown interest in it.
Yeah.
This was quite an impressive performance by Krylov. There wasn't any great shakes. Cody Donovan, obviously former Bellator star, getting a chance in UFC. Views on this fight: we had TKO punches for Krylov in 4:57 of round 1.
Cody, about 40 seconds earlier, almost had the finish himself. It was just kind of a stand-up war, and Donovan looked to have Krylov hurting and was trying his hardest to put him away, but he I don't know if he gassed out or what, because the second Krylov took back over, Donovan ended up on the floor and he was getting pounded, and he wasn't out of it, but he just wasn't defending. And I'm sure Neil, you remember last night I was telling you, we were sitting right next to his wife and his sister and his father, and I mean, you could just hear his wife screaming, "Get up, babe! Get up, babe!" And eventually, he lost the fight, and she burst into tears. And sometimes I think on a grand scale, when you're talking about UFC MMA, you don't see the kind of the reality of it. Like, you go to local shows, you see that kind of thing all the time, but to see a UFC fighter's family just absolutely crushed by that was quite something, and they left immediately following the fight.
A real Rocky Balboa moment.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate.
Do you remember what I told you to do?
Yeah, go and console her.
In middleweight competition, then we had another non-Irish fair, Trevor Smith against Tor Train, and this was the only
this
kind
was the fight where Paddy Houlihan was in the stands, and people just didn't watch it, and it was fine. It was just a fight. And,
It was fine.
But I was very impressed, and I know this is not news, but the Irish fans, every little minor bit of position that someone would get, they would react to. You know what I mean?
Oh, people know the game here. Like the ground game is very much appreciated.
They really, really do, and that was something that you really picked up on here.
Yeah, it was a super smart crowd. Okay, let's get to the next one. This is my fight of the night. This was actually also the UFC fight of the night. This
fight of the year.
Yes, got fight of the night honors. It was insane. So Carl Prendergast against Mike King. Carl, of course, in the BJ Penn Edgar series of Ultimate Fighter. Got to the semi-final, got his UFC contract. This was his actual first UFC fight. His first coming in properly at middleweight. Obviously, when you're in the house, you're kind of cut down for the whole time. So he looked a lot bigger. He looked a lot more like the Cage Warriors Carl Prendergast we were used to. He's going against Mike King, and Mike King is like the real typical quintessential tenacious American who's good at every single sport he's ever tried his hand at. Carl came out to put him under pressure, and Ken, what was the crowd like singing along to that?
This was an incredible moment in the building. I mean, I'm not the most kind of chest thumping Irishman you'll find, but it was impossible not to swell with pride at this. There was just such a feeling of desperation for our hometown boy to do well, and every single person in the crowd was singing "Ole, ole, ole," and it was just the intensity and the passion with which you don't see it in the States, you don't see it in Canada. You see, I think the first couple of Brazil events had something like this, but it just was incredible. Even the English events have nothing to compare to this.
The place just went nuts when, just under all the pressure, two of them went hell for leather at it. And just when Prendergast, after all the pressure, I'm just looking at some of the stats here. Total strikes by Mike King were 63. Significant strikes were 63. 13 for Carl Prendergast, and 9 of those were significant.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The story of the fight basically was the first round. Prendergast, I don't know if it could have been stopped, Ken, but like he was in serious trouble. And I actually did say to my friend texted me saying his stream was down for watching the prelims on Fight Pass, and I was given like a running commentary of this, and I said I don't know if it was pressure on the ref, but this probably could have been stopped.
I turned to my wife about 10 seconds before he started to recover, and I said, I'm uncomfortable with this. This should be stopped. And I said to her after the fight, I really feel he lost that fight, and then he got a chance to win it again.
Absolutely.
The only thing he had is, I think you could see King's arms were gassing. And I think the referee saw that and thought, and with the pressure from the audience,
tremendous
I'll give
pressure.
this dude every chance. But he wasn't defending himself, and but he got back up, and then
Mike King also got him in a choke, and he got out of that. He was kind of saved by the bell when Mike King was going for an armbar. The second round saw Mike King being completely gassed out of it.
Carwin Lesnar too, wasn't it?
Absolutely, he had nothing left, and Prendergast
he was in control of the second round.
Yeah, and
complete control.
It was an incredible the absolute technique to go from his guard and to cross over to his back into the choke was just magnificent. And this guy just can't be stopped. It's literally like nobody has cracked how to stop Carl Prendergast.
Do you know how I like it? Have you ever seen the movie? It's the MMA movie Warrior.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
He just reminds me of the main character in that. He's getting his ass handed to him every time, and then he's just hanging in there.
He's incredible. His post-fight promo was absolutely magnifighting. He basically spoke about how 5.5 years ago he was in the crowd, and he knew when the UFC was to come back that he was going to be fighting in Dublin, and he said, let's make this an annual event. You're the best crowd, best fans in the world. Let's hear how loud you can be. Was that the loudest reaction of the night, that moment right there?
No, I still think with Conor won. I mean, I've literally never heard anything in my life that loud.
Okay, well, speaking of loudness, we're going to move on to the next fight, which was another hometown. Neil Seary in the second UFC bout, going against Phil Harris. They've actually had a match before. Neil Seary won via decision. He won very comfortably. Very comfortably. His striking is as crisp as you can get. His boxing background, you could see it a mile away. He really is very calm. He does have an experienced air about him. 104 decibels was what hit when Seary won, when he was announced as the winner.
For me, though, that fight had the most iconic kind of moments coming from, most iconic images, especially that with seconds left where he jumped in, Superman-esque.
Yes.
That was brilliant, but the kicks on the ground as well, the crowd behind him.
Have you ever heard that in the UFC before, Ken?
Absolutely not, no. It's quite something.
What do you think of Siri's performance?
I thought he was phenomenal. I mean, I thought he outperformed even the highest expectations. If
Yes.
this Neill Siri had fought the Brad Pickett who fought Ian McCall, I would have favoured Siri.
Oh, that's a really good point, and you're spot on.
You know, he was terrific, and it was just magnificent. This was just a shutout. You know what I mean? This was like a 3-0 win. You know what I mean? Whereas kind of Carl Pendred was a 2-1 with a last-minute winner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the main event of the prelims was Latifi defeating Chris Dempsey by TKO punches in the first round. Really impressive
That
performance.
was emphatic.
Absolutely. All right, let's get on to the main show. So I'll just give you my perspective. 3E, this was their first foyer into mixed martial arts broadcasting. They were absolutely disgraceful when they took their ad breaks. It was all over the place. They didn't even know what they were doing. Like, they were coming back, which is very bad for the channel in terms of revenue. They were actually coming back halfway through ads. They were cutting ads. Like on the fly. They had no idea what they were doing. And as well, you pointed this out to me, Ken, and I kind of only realised it afterwards. The main card, the volume of the crowd seemed to have dipped compared to the recording on the Fight Pass. So this wasn't actually a lull in the crowd. This is just something that happens.
Yeah, it's just for anyone who doesn't know, UFC for the TV portion of shows, which this would have counted as the prelims are usually just streamed on the internet. They turn the announcers up in the audio mix and they turn the crowd down. So, you know, I always remember the Brendan Schaub knockout, the Antonio Rogerio Nogueira knockout of Brendan Schaub in Brazil when the crowd just went banana, as Kenny Florian said that night. And people talked about that as being the loudest reaction in UFC history at that time. But if you're watching on TV, I mean, you could visually see people going crazy, but you couldn't hear it, you know, and that was very much the case here. And don't get me wrong, the crowd was loud. I think after the Pendred fight, we were a little bit like, I said to MT, I said, I've just got to shut up now because I was going completely hoarse. Yeah. And so I kind of kept myself to myself for a couple of fights. But no, it was still, you know, a very, very loud crowd. And I watched the show on the BT Sport broadcaster when I got home. And
oh, did you?
Yeah, it certainly didn't do it justice. The BT Sport coverage, incidentally, was just as bad as the 3E coverage.
Despite the fact Dana White was there.
Really?
Yeah, but you know, for example, they cut away to an ad break during Gunnar Nelson's promo and then played it when it came back from the break, but it was just so awkward, and there was a lot of things like that. And BT Sports coverage in general has been pretty poor. The 3E coverage, I know, is just the Fight Pass coverage with 3E throwing in their own ad breaks, which
yes,
that, you know, those shows aren't meant to have ad breaks, so
no,
it's
completely
it's kind of like when for pro wrestling fans back in the day when Channel 4
I knew you were going to say that. That's amazing. 50 minutes. All right, so let's talk about the main card. We had Norman Park representing Northern Ireland against Naoki Kotani. Norman Park winning via strikes, second round, 3 minutes 41 seconds. Impressive performance by Norman, and what was his reaction? Oh, it was fully expected. The Japanese curse in the UFC continues, but what do you think of Norman's performance, and what kind of reaction did he get?
Well, my perspective on this, again, I said to you last night, his close family were sitting right by us, and there's about 14 of them, which he's from Bushmills in Northern Ireland, which means there was 1% of the population of his hometown in this building last night, and they were going absolutely crazy. And it was very funny because he was just getting this reaction from them as though he was the star on the card, you know what I mean? Which is totally not not befitting him. But the first round was just typical Norman Park. I have nothing against the guy, but his fights are usually fairly tedious.
That's fair.
He decisions people by holding up against the cage in dirty boxing, kind of like Randy Couture, but he's not a superstar, so he doesn't get away with it like Randy, you know.
Yes.
But he got the opponent to the floor in the second round and just waylaid him with punches. A lot of them were being blocked, but he wasn't providing any real. He wasn't trying to change position, wasn't trying to get out of it, so the referee was right to stop it. And I mean, what a promo afterwards by Park! I didn't see that personality coming from him.
No, it was very, very good. What exactly did he say that impressed you?
He said, just at the end when he said that, he said he wanted a top 20 guy next. Yeah. I was like, wow, way to shoot high there, Diego.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
or not Diego, but Norman. But then he finished with Diego Sanchez, Where You At, Punk, which and that's a fight that you're going to see a lot of people ask for that, because I think people know Diego Sanchez is a busted clutch, and he's also a big name. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. Flyweight action up next. Brad Pickett unfortunately losing to Ian McCall. Unanimous decision. Judges gave it 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. So one judge had the one round there for Brad.
I quite enjoyed that fight.
Technically it was an interesting fight. It's just, for me, I don't know, I've always had this real kind of warmth to Brad Pickett, and I've always enjoyed him as a personality, I've always enjoyed him as a fighter, and I just feel that he's kind of on the wrong side of his form at the moment, and I don't see him picking back up.
He looked very thin though.
Oh yeah, well, how much
does,
he does cook quite a bit, doesn't he? What would he?
Well,
he 10,
he does,
10,
but
15? I don't know.
I wouldn't say much more than any of the other guys in the division, But Brad Pickett has looked like he's on a slide. He had the Eddie Wineland loss, the narrow decision win over Siri. He had an okay performance here, but he just there's no denying that he has passed his peak. Put it this way, it's not so long ago that he beat Demetrius Johnson with both their 135 pounders. Now, Ian McCall had far too much speed for Brad Pickett last night, so imagine how he would fare against Demetrius now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, there'd be no contest there. In the very essence of it. Welterweight semi-main, the adopted Icelandic son of Ireland, Gunnar Nelson, going against Zach Cummins. Did you notice that the SBG lads, who obviously walked out, Cahill, Paddy, Gunnar and Connor, they had different Death Throne t-shirt colours for every fight.
Yeah.
I was phenomenal. But do you remember when Bobby Heenan, Ken, just to throw pro wrestling reference in, do you remember when Bobby Heenan was talking about WrestleMania 3 and said they had to pay him extra because his sneakers were worn down by the end, walking up and back with so many guys? I thought the same thing for John Kavanagh. Like literally, he must have been gassed.
The entrance way was all about 10 feet, mind you, Neil. So.
Yeah, I know. But the amount of time seeing that guy, what a night for SBG Ireland, because Gunnar Nelson did defeat Zach Cummins via rear naked choke in the second round. And
he's a scary guy.
Gunnar is the real cerebral assassin. He's ice cold. He's so calculated. He's so calm. In the first round, though, Ken, I was wondering, had he kind of met his match? Is that fair, or do you just think that he knew what it was going to come eventually?
Gunny always finishes his fights, and he always looks like, you always look and think, wow, here's a dude when the fight is over. But this is not the first time I've watched a Gunnar Nelson fight and thought, this dude just really doesn't look all that,
Yeah, no, I can understand.
He didn't really find his rhythm in his striking in the first round. And Cummings, did you hear what weight Zach Cummings went into the cage at?
Say that again, Ken.
Did you hear what weight Cummings went into the cage at?
No.
Zach Cummings, who weighed in at 171, went into the cage at 207 pounds.
How is that possible in 24 hours?
I don't know, but there you go. He'd been fighting at 205, then he cut to 185, and then he cut again. So,
okay,
I just think that's a separate issue. That's something that I just don't think should be seen in sport. But anyway, he was a much bigger dude, and I worried that he would be able to press Gunnar against the cage, or maybe take him down. He couldn't get the takedowns off, but he did kind of. He controlled the where the round took place, the first round, and I thought he'd lost. I thought Gunnar lost that round, but it's almost just about 60 seconds before the end of round 2. Gunnar thought, all right, let's get this finished, and he just took him to the ground, snaked his arm around him, and he only had about 28 seconds to work for that choke, and he got it within 10.
Yeah, there was 9 seconds left on the clock.
For me, I think you could see the clash of personalities when Zach Cummins, he came out. I can't remember what his song was, his intro walking song, but he was there singing along and all that. And Gunnar Nelson, no expression on his face, just eyes cold killer.
He is absolutely. So
Autobahn ruthless, really, isn't
he? So we were going in at this stage a clean sweep for everybody hometown associated or affiliated, and then we were on to the main event: Conor McGregor versus Diego Brandao. Conor didn't come out to the Dropkick Murphy song. He came out to like a kind
Sinead
of
O'Connor Chieftains.
Yeah, and that was different. Was the fact that the song wasn't super upbeat, did that hamper his reaction at all, Ken?
No, God, no. It built the entrance. The entrance apparently was it was rehearsed several times and changed multiple times. First of all, for those who weren't there live, you wouldn't have known this. The point, anyone who's ever been to a pro wrestling or MMA show or anything there will know that the competitors come from, just maybe 10, 15 feet away from the cage at this little door. You've seen our wrestling shows, Neil, right?
Yeah, sure.
But for the main event, they had the guys come from a different section of the building. So Conor actually came from beneath where we were in the stands, and had a big long walk, and it just built and built and built. And actually, I was talking about the show this morning with my wife, and she said this was her highlight of the night, because just the electricity. They had the Irish flag with the UFC logo on it.
It's incredible.
People, we both just looked around, and there's just no one was speaking to other. Everyone's just kind of like looking, and it just was an absolute moment in time. You had to be there. There's just no other way about it. And when he came out, the people just went crazy, and there was a force of will that I think would have stopped Diego Brandao winning this fight. It just couldn't happen. You know what I mean? It was unfathomable on the night.
Yeah, no, I didn't envy Brandao's position at all during that entrance. I just was thinking to myself, like, what have you gotten yourself in for here? It's very rare that UFC would really put that much of an entrance behind somebody, but it was incredible. McGregor said he'd finish him in the first, just like we heard with the promo at the start of the segment here this evening, and he did indeed. He was like, anytime that they went to the ground, Diego's trying to get a leg lock. He was trying to get any sort of limb he could. McGregor's just so nimble, and there was absolutely no signs of the ACL issue, and the fact he's coming back from major surgery. Yeah, no, he looked absolutely fine, and it was Diego kind of ducked away to his right. It was a shot to the temple. He went down about 5 or 6 punches on the ground before it was deemed to be a TKO. And
But there's question marks being raised about Brandao. Was he, all that pressure, did it crumble on him? Was it kind of set up for him to fall?
Dana said that he was backstage beforehand, and he was very relaxed, and he wasn't. The other thing was, he wasn't over emotional. Anyone who remembers Conor's first fight in the UFC against Marcus Brimage will remember Brimage just dove in and then ended up getting himself caught because of it. Well, Brandao didn't do that. Brandao, just came out to fight as he normally would. He was relaxed. He had good camp. He's living with his brothers now. He's happy, and he just didn't have it. Conor was just too much for him. Conor's striking is very technical. He's very good at using range and using movement to confuse guys and land, and that was the way here. And but Brandao is somebody who crumples once he gets behind. He's a Vitor Belfort. He's great when he's in front, but when he's behind, he folds tense, and I felt he kind of very much gave up here.
Very quickly to cut across you there, Neil. I just want to get your opinion. Do you know the touch gloves? You usually take a couple of steps back. What did you make of McGregor's roundhouse kick on him?
No, I didn't see any issue with that at all. The touch gloves is always fine, and it's not necessarily a condition that you have to take a few steps back. I've seen people touch gloves as they're about to swing.
There have been knockouts where one guy puts the glove and the other one just punches him in the face.
I felt that was fair. Ken, was it was the best show you've ever been to in your life?
I think I could live another 100 years and I still wouldn't find one that would top it. It was just incredible.
Well, this time next year, title defence.
The idea is an annual thing, and if McGregor gets one more, I would definitely fancy a title opportunity, maybe over here this time next year.
Could he sell out Aviva?
Maybe.
Dana was very negative on that idea because of the weather.
See, they've never done the weather is an issue. They've also never actually done a stadium anywhere, an outdoor stadium, and it'd be very weird to do it for the first time over here. But at the same time,
didn't they play the Sky? Didn't they do the Sky Dome in Toronto, which is it's got a roof on it? Yeah,
exactly. But the thing is, just look at the way people get about the Irish soccer team when they qualify for something. Could they do 45,000 people?
Oh, absolutely.
The way we get behind people
because the event it would become,
Yeah. Even on my Facebook feed,
people who've never seen an MMA fight before in their lives at that show.
No, that's it. On my Facebook feed today, I was going through everything, and obviously I've got there's quite a balance between the people who I'm friends with for MMA and my actual friends. And everything that I saw today was just talking about Conor McGregor, no matter who it was. So it's extremely outreaching. But Ken, I'm so glad you enjoyed last night. Thank you very much for the live perspective. And you can catch this podcast being repeated again on thisaintfake.com. Until then, we'll be back at the same time next week. And Chris?
And just before, it sounds like Ken is building his own little cage in the background there.
Yeah, exactly. Let us know what that goes.
14-month-old hanging about the place.
It was a clean sweep for the Irish. I said it last year, when I heard you to take part, I heard to take over.
103.2 Dublin City FM. Dublin radio at its best.